I'm a little bit nervous to see what I might find as I walk through the veggie garden this morning. I've just come home after being away for 3 days, but while I was away, we actually had a really big storm with crazy high winds and a big downpour of rain. So not only is there going to be some changes from being away from the garden for 3 days, but the big storm we had while I was away, I'm probably a bit more nervous about what I might find. So I thought I would bring the camera out this morning as I walk through the garden, and hopefully it's not as bad as what I think it might be. When I first walk into the garden, I can see a bit of damage already. Now, this is obviously from the storm and not from me being away for 3 days. You can see I've got some lettuce here going to seed, and they've all been knocked over flat. This garden bed here where I've got some spring onion, it's not looking too good either. A lot of it has flopped over. I mean, it was pretty dry in the first place. It wasn't looking super great, but as you can see, a lot of it has been knocked over. So not the best first impression when I walk into the garden. This bed here where I've got my cucumbers and onions is not looking too good. I've already had a pretty bad start to the season with my cucumbers, and I only have one plant remaining. I actually planted some more seeds out probably a few days ago before I left. Now I did soak the seeds for 24 hours to hope that they would germinate a little bit quicker. I don't know why I've had such a bad season with cucumbers. They're actually really easy to grow, and this is the first time that I've had not very good luck with the cucumbers between the bugs, the heat, and then we did have some snap frost as well. So it's a bit of a mixture of the three things. I've just have not had very good luck this season. But hopefully the seeds that I planted last week will do well, and we'll get some healthy plants from those seeds. The onions that I've got in here, a lot of them have fallen over as well, and they don't have really big bulbs. This bed is looking pretty miserable. Yes, and I probably think that's probably from the wind. Crazy winds, crazy. This area behind me is probably the worst hit in the garden. This is in the paddock where I've got 3 shade houses, and this is a lot more open than the garden. The garden can be a little bit protected. It's got fences around with grapevines and passion fruit vines, whereas here in the paddock it's really open. There's not a lot of barriers to stop that wind from coming through, and as you can see, the shade cloth has been ripped off in certain sections for this end one, but also for the middle one where I've got some watermelon growing. Now down here I've got grapes, grape cuttings that I took, and they've all been knocked over. I hope that they're going to be okay. I'm going to have to inspect them. It's just a huge mess. It won't be too hard to fix, I think. It's a mess, but hopefully nothing got destroyed. I was actually just shown some footage of a town of maybe an hour and a half away, and there were roofs being blown off buildings, and they lost buildings due to the wind and this huge storm that came through. So yes, so although there is some damage here, it is nothing compared to what some towns faced just, an hour and a half away. So I should be very thankful for that. This seems like a very easy fix. The pumpkin plants are going absolutely nuts. They've grown so much over the past 3 days, and there's a fair bit of extra growth that I'm going to need to attach to the trellis here. Now, I have noticed that there are some spots of powdery mildew, so I'm going to have to deal with that ASAP. I'm going to cut off the affected leaves and then probably going to spray the plant with a mixture of milk and water. Now, that doesn't get rid of the problem. It will only treat it, just manage it. I have been looking to an organic fungicide. I don't usually like to use those things in the garden, but I feel like we're really only at the start of the season for the pumpkins, and I and I really want to get a good crop of pumpkins. So if I can find an organic fungicide, then I probably will use that. As you can see, this is the bottom part of the plant, and there are quite a few leaves down here that are affected. You can see it's got the white spots, and that's the telltale sign of powdery mildew. But looking at the rest of the plants as an overall, there aren't too many leaves that are affected, so hopefully it's not too late and I can treat it without it taking over the plant. I'm going to just go around and clip the extra pumpkin plant growth to the trellis. I'm going to be doing that using these little clips here. Now, this is the second season that I've used these clips, and they work really well. They clip up together and then you can undo it as well. Now, usually I don't like to let it grow too much before I clip it, because I find that if you bend the plant, sometimes it can often snap the vines, which obviously you don't want to happen. So just be very gentle. I was clipping the plants onto the vine and I came across this pumpkin. I don't even know how I missed it. I swear it wasn't this big when I left the other day. This is cool. Look at this pumpkin. How exciting. Look how big it is. That is so exciting. There was an ant on there, so I just brushed it off. How exciting is that? Oh, fantastic. So excited. The trellis where I've got my San Marzano tomatoes is looking pretty good despite the crazy winds we had. Some of the strings and tomahawks have moved across the wire a little bit, so I do need to go about straightening them. And the tomato plants do need a trim, but apart from that, I think they're looking pretty good. They don't seem to have been phased by the huge winds that we had, and the plants are looking actually really healthy. So I'm really happy with that. I will have to go along and fix the strings up the top just to make sure the plant's growing up straight and not on a lean, impacting the plant next to them. But apart from that, I am pretty happy with how these San Marzano tomatoes are going. I'm starting to see lots of little tomatoes on the plants now. This is the first time that I'm growing this variety. It's a paste variety. Last year I grew Aroma. This year I'm trying out the San Marzano. Very excited. I do need to give these a trim because, as you can see, you've got the main leader stem here, and there are quite a few suckers here that I need to trim off. So because they are growing 30 centimeters apart, I really do only have the option of growing it to one single stem. There's just not enough space for growing multiple stems. And I should get a wriggle on because, as you can see, there's some flowers here on this second stem. So I'll cut that off so the plant can put the energy towards growing all of these delicious little tomatoes. This part of the garden here has really been knocked over a lot. I had mainly plants going to seed here. I had some celery, some lettuce. This one here is borage, and it is like completely flattened. But I have been contemplating pulling that out, so maybe it's not a bad thing. At first glance though, it looks pretty bad. We had this bird cage sitting up here on the well and it's been knocked over. All these plants have been knocked over. It looks pretty messy. It probably looks worse than what it is. This is my other onion bed that was doing really, really well. This is a short day variety called Red Burgundy. And as you can see, a lot of them have been flattened again. Now there's some that are a decent size that I can probably pull up, but then there are also quite a few that still aren't quite ready yet. And I was happy to leave them in the ground a bit longer, but they have now been flattened by the wind and the rain. So I might just have to monitor them and see how they're going. Crazy what a bit of wild weather can do, isn't it? This part of the garden seems to be probably one of the most worst affected, and I'm guessing it was probably from the wind. I'm in one of my netted areas where I've got some tomatoes growing. This variety is called Gross Lizzie, and I can see some of the strings for my tomahawks have probably untied and come off, and as a result the tomato plant has fallen down. Now I hope that they haven't snapped, and I hope it's an easy fix. I can just fix it up. Yeah, because because I love tomatoes. This one here has just come undone from the irrigation. There's been a lot of growth since I've been gone. So, I mean, it grew a lot while I was gone, and then we had the storm, which has not really helped. It's knocked over a lot of plants. It's made a lot of strings come off the irrigation. Yes. I'm going to fix up the other side. So far, there's been no snapped stems. Fingers crossed. Well, the weather certainly has been a little bit weird and wild and wacky at the moment. It is a bit humid at the moment, which is a bit odd for our area, and it's definitely not good for my pumpkins that are having some powdery mildew, so I'm going to have to get that sorted ASAP. But I would love to hear how you handle the weird and wild weather that is very common these days, unfortunately, especially if you're a gardener. It does make gardening a little bit more of a challenge, but nevertheless, we will not give up gardening despite the craziness of the weather. But I would love to hear what you do in your garden to perhaps protect your garden from big weather events, whether it is heat or rain or hail. There are always challenges that we face as gardeners. So put your comments below and share them so everyone can benefit from the experience that we have all accumulated in the garden. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure that you give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well, as that's really going to help my channel to grow. I hope that you enjoyed this video today. I'm going to sort out this powdery mildew and tidy up a bit in the garden. A lot of things were blown around. It's actually a big mess over there, which I didn't show you. So I'm going to go tidy that up now. But I hope you all can get out into your gardens today to enjoy the sunshine, if it's sunshine where you are. But just get out and enjoy your beautiful garden, and I will see you all next time. See ya.